Hello and welcome to this Independent Consulting Manual Roundtable discussion. Our topic today is work-life balance. I'm your host and facilitator, Kai Davis, and in just a moment our esteemed panelists will be introducing themselves to you. I think you're going to find our topic today extremely interesting because there's so much depth involved in balancing your work and life as a consultant. As an independent practitioner, it's all too easy to let your work life spill over into your personal life at great personal cost. Each of our panelists has a wealth of experience and hard-won lessons to share on this topic, so pay attention to the next 45 minutes of solid gold. Again, my name is Kai Davis, and I help consultants, product creators, and coaches and authors grow their audience by managing their most valuable relationships and building new ones. I'll be your facilitator for this ICM panel discussion. And now I'm going to ask our guests to introduce themselves. Travis, would you introduce yourself?
Sure, thanks, Kai. I am Travis Northcutt. I am a partner at MemberUp, and we help sites with a subscription component increase their conversion rates and lower churn.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Zach, would you introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Zach Gilbert, and I am a developer consultant here in Chicago, and I am also a community organizer of sorts, having been a founder of Technori Chicago and Chicago Concat, periodic meetup where people get together and hang out and share war stories.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And Jeremy, would you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Jeremy Green. I'm a software architect. I specialize in Ruby on Rails and Ember, and I help SaaS applications and e-commerce stores that are outgrowing a monolithic architecture transition into microservices.
Excellent. Well, I'm personally really excited for this topic because the other roundtables really focus on the work side of being an independent consultant, how to hire and fire clients, how to make more money, how to price your services. But this one really lets us talk about the work-life balance, which I think is core to being an independent business owner. So I'm excited to dive into the topic with the three of you and help share some wisdom with the viewers to help establish a better work-life balance themselves. So first off, I'd just like to ask the three of you, how do you define work-life balance?
For me, work-life balance is a lot about if all of my needs and more, in a lot of ways, more importantly, the needs of the people around me who I care about and love are being met in each of those areas, in work and in life, which life includes work. Obviously, we're using that term to mean everything aside from work. So for me, I'm one half of a partnership, and so that means make sure my partner's needs are met at work. My partner Michael, and that our business is being taken care of and well led and stewarded, and then also personally for me, more important that that my immediate family, my wife and son, that their needs are being taken care of at home, and but then that also kind of means financial needs too, and that that's where it kind of all starts to meld together, right? Where if you just say, oh, I'm going to ignore work and take care of life, personal stuff, well, then you're not taking care of it, right? Because you're not meeting those financial needs and those providing for the people you care about and love, even if you're solo. If that means you're solo at work or at home or whatever, that's providing for yourself too. So I think that's a long way of saying it's all kind of mixed up, but that's kind of how my framework for looking at it.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, please, Zach.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. And for me, work-life balance, it's kind of funny. I don't know, some people will say, oh, there's no such thing as work-life balance. It's all just life, and in many ways it is. It depends on how you come at it. For some people, work is a means to have a life. For other people, work is the life. I love what I do, and I'm fortunate enough that it gives me the ability to, have a kind of a crazy, fulfilling life outside of sitting at a computer. But I love being able to help companies and people kind of solve the problems that they're having. And for me, that's part of my life. But part of that also is, we live in this crazy world of, that most people get to see a small fraction of. And for me, the thing that's important to, me is getting out there, seeing the world, having experiences that I don't get to have just sitting at a computer, doing work. And so for me, the work-life balance is, being able to do both of those things.
That's perfect. How about you, Jeremy?
Yeah, I mean, I can really only echo a lot of what Travis and Zach have already said. It's about finding a balance because, like Travis said, if you just focus on work and leave everything else by the wayside, you're, kind of living a pretty one-dimensional and shallow existence. But on the other hand, if you abandon work and ignore that, then you're, not going to be taking care of responsibilities. And so, yeah, you have to find both. And, it's funny that Zach brings up the, there's not work and life, there's just life. And you have the one thing, I was going to kind of allude to that because I work at home, and so it's very easy for those two things to blend into each other, and there not to be a good line of delineation. And part of that is working at home, and part of it's, being fortunate enough to work on a computer so you can actually do work sitting in the living room watching TV. And that's something I do plenty of because I enjoy what I do, and I get to play with my own side projects and turn side projects into businesses. But yeah, it's definitely about finding balance.
Yeah, I completely agree with the idea of balance. I think to the points when I've been the most depressed in life, it's when I've had a complete imbalance between the work side and the life side. Like I moved to Portland, Oregon a year ago, and I ended up living in a smaller apartment really close to downtown. I was super excited because I felt like, hey, great, this is like a real upgrade to the life side. I'm in the heart of downtown Portland. But it was a one-bedroom apartment. My office was my living room, and I was never able to have that work-life separation. Saturday would roll around, I'd walk out, and I'm like, oh, that's the couch I sit on when I'm doing work. There's no way for me to escape it. There's my desk. It was just pervasive no matter what, and it completely shattered that work-life balance for me. And like Jeremy, now I have a home office, and it's wonderful for me to be able to close the door on the weekend and just either mentally or metaphorically or literally close that door and just say like, okay, like I'm not going to go into the office, or I'm going into the office, but I'm working on a Kai thing just to better have that work-life balance. And this sort of brings us to that second question. Do you shut off work outside of working hours? And if so, what steps do you take to enforce that separation?
I'll say that I think I do a pretty good job of shutting off outside of working hours. Working hours. I know for some people those hours are different. For me right now, they look pretty traditional, but a lot of that is because I have a kid, and so that means there's it's important to have kind of those very clear that clear structure around that. And for me, a lot of times, what enforces that separation is when you have a 4.5-year-old, climbing on top of you and jumping on your head, then it's hard to get work done. And so that's kind of a motivator there to put all that aside and focus on on him, or on time with my wife, or whatever the case may be. Right now, I commute to an office. I say commute, it's really, it's like 10 minutes, but to an office daily. And so for me, that kind of helps create that physical separation. Not just that, okay, that's where I do work because I take my laptop home, so I can do work at home. And sometimes I do a little bit, but just having that time, right, where, okay, I go from I'm working and now I'm driving home or riding my bike home. And so there's that transition period. Which I think I would offer that as a tip for anybody who's struggling with having that separation, especially if you work at home. That can be hard because, hey, it's like you said, it's right there. So I've heard this from other people that having a transition time period can help, even if you work at home. Like go for a walk at the end of the day, or have a ritual kind of routine that marks that transition. even if you work, maybe then you work some more later that day, like still having a ritual of shutting things down for a while, having that, like you mentioned, Kai, that mental shift.
That makes a lot of sense. How about you, Zach and Jeremy?
Man, that shift. So I have been working from home on a lot of projects for the last couple of years, and my current one of my current clients, I actually go into the office for right now, and so I have been commuting a decent amount, and I can't tell you, I never really understood it until recently, of having that commute. Okay, I am done with that project, and it just allows for that shift. And I mean, yeah, even if I'm working from home, but then shifting to another project, sometimes I need some type of, indicator or, something to break that up. And I think, Travis, you had mentioned like taking a walk or something like that. Oftentimes, it's just as little, it's something that breaks up, oh, I'm no longer working on this, now let's start moving the brain elsewhere. Because, there are many times where I'll be done working for the day, but, I'll be moving from my computer to like when we're having dinner, and it's tough for me to like change, like, okay, I am now no longer in work mode, like especially if there's a problem that's been bugging me or something like that. It's really hard to shut off, and then having that kind of routine or something like that makes it a lot easier. But yeah, in general, we try to kind of shut off as much as possible. Like my girlfriend and I, we have kind of designated, unless otherwise specified, like our nights are, we're just together. We, whether we're watching TV or, going out to dinner or movie or whatever, we, that's our time together. We're done working. Like, let's not talk about that stuff. Unless it's, hey, I have a whole bunch of stuff I need to finish off tonight. Is that okay? Or do you have stuff to work on? And then we'll, but yeah, usually we try to actually shut off, because working all the time, you just get so tired.
That makes a lot of sense. Jeremy, anything to add on the topic?
One thing that helps me shut things off is just not having work-related communication options on my phone. Like I don't check email on my phone. I mean, I can if I need to and it's a crisis, but just as a matter of practice, I pretty much never check email on my phone. I don't have chat applications that my clients can get at me on my phone. They have my phone number where if something has gone drastically wrong and they need to get a hold of me, they can do that. But like I purposefully try to remove the low friction communication options from the schedule, just so that I'm not spending so much time head down facing the phone, and that helps me a lot, just because when it's just your natural inclination, when it's blowing up and making noise at you, you want to check it, and it's easy for just that little thing to kind of drag me back into the mental place of working, and so for me that's a really good trick, that just when I do get to the end of the day and I'm done, I'll step away from the computer, shut down the chat apps, and then it's done until tomorrow when I fire that stuff back up.
Yeah, I've actually been bad about that lately, especially email on my phone, of letting that pull me back, like you said, pull me back into that mental space of thinking about that stuff, which is silly, right? Because the 99% of the time, if there's something that makes me think about it, I can't act on it right then, right? And so it's just a waste of time. I travel a lot, and so it's impractical for me to shut that off entirely, but I think there's definitely something to be said, even in that case, for having a disciplined process of okay, I'm just going to scan for emergencies or whatever the case may be, and then not even if it's not an emergency, don't even read it, So yeah, I think that's a really great tip.
Yeah, I think it's so easy to just feel like, oh, if if clients getting a hold of me, that it must be something important, and I don't want to miss out, or I want to be attentive to their needs and all this stuff. And I can't tell you how many times, like probably 99% of the time they'll send an email. It's really like the sense of urgency is me putting that sense of urgency there, not them. Just they're like, oh, hey, I have this thing that I need taken care of, and I could probably just let it sit there, for a day or two before I even respond, and it would be fine. But so many times it's me putting that urgency on there and kind of like, oh, I got to take care of this, get it off my plate, all that stuff. And I think it's easy to forget that, hey, this stuff most of the time, it's not a big deal. Like, you don't have to be responding to it, in 1 minute type thing.
Yeah, it's easy to fall into the mindset of like viewing yourself as the customer service hotline for your business.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the reality is that we're operating on a different level and in a different playing field altogether than AT&T, who you expect to be able to call up at any time and talk to somebody and get an immediate answer. But it's weird. It is easy to fall into the trap of thinking that you have to respond in that way because that's what people expect. But the reality is they oftentimes don't really expect that from you. You just kind of project that onto yourself.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that, you're doing your clients a disservice if you do that, because if you're willing to be interrupted at any time with one of your clients' communications of any email or whatever the case may be, whether it's urgent or not, then if you're working on client A's stuff and you let client B's stuff pull you out of that, you're not being doing your duty to client A. Mm-hmm. And so if they're looking at it correctly, then they don't want you to be able to just be pulled away like that. So yeah.
Absolutely. One thing I personally struggle with is I ended up through Google Apps issues ended up unifying all of my inboxes about 2 years ago. So I don't have a personal email. Like, I have a personal email address, but everything ends up in the same spot. And so it's just led to, like, honest to God, like, intense anxiety about checking my email on the weekends. Like, right now I have 180 emails in my inbox right now. Maybe 20 of them are from family and friends who are like, hey, let's get together and do a thing and see a movie. And the other 160 are notifications and emails and client projects and Basecamp things. And not having that easy division, even just on something as, like, small and tactical as email, causes me a level of mental distress. And it's like, my mom was like, oh, I'm going to email you the recipe, like the menu for Thanksgiving dinner. And I'm like, don't email it to me. That means I need to check my email. If I check my email, like, iMessage it to me. But, like, that I think is a symptom of a larger problem of me not having adequate systems in place. And so over the last month, I've been working to say, like, well, how do I slowly separate these two? So I've been, like, giving clients a kai@wyouraudience.com address that just forwards right now, but I'm going to be able to flip a switch soon, and, like, all the email lives over there, and the Kai Davis email lives over here, and, like, some stuff will slip through the filter, but I could course correct it and forward it over there and finally have that separation. So if a friend emails me, it goes over here. If a client emails me, it goes over there. Then on the weekend on my phone, like, I could check email, but it's just the personal email that's coming to me from friends and family, not the client email where it's like, oh, like, you're assigning me a task. And, like, you all are saying, like, there's that perception where, oh, I have to take action on this now. It's Saturday, but I better do it. When it's really, it's like, oh, like, center the text on the thing. It's not a priority. I just make it feel like a priority. Another question I have for the group is, do you feel, and I think we've touched on this a bit, but, like, do you at times feel stress about running your own business? And if you do, how do you cope with that? How do you deal with that?
I definitely feel that stress of running my own business, and I have two answers to that question about how I deal with that and manage that. And the first one is peanut butter M&Ms, and the second, slightly more serious answer is like, talk to a therapist. Like, don't push that stuff down. I have a psychologist here who I've been seeing for like 10 years off and on, that my wife and I both see. Like, he knows all my stuff and all my issues, and we talk about anything, and it's great. And just this past year, I started, actually taking medication to deal with some of that anxiety and depression that comes along with that. And to some people, that may sound drastic, but man, to me, it's not worth letting that wreck parts of your life just to feel like you've got everything under control. Because I mean, everybody's all figuring this out as we go along, right? And nobody's perfect, and you don't get everything right the first time around, the first try. And so being open about that kind of stuff, I think, is a huge issue, and that's part of why I'm willing to have that conversation here. Is I want people to know that, right? That it's if you're dealing with stuff like that, you're not alone, and that's a sliding scale, right? Like, you may just be a little stressed sometimes, and that's great. You can deal with that, and it may be like drastic, and you need to do a lot of work on that. But definitely address it, and don't let that build up over time, because it's real, and running your own business is stressful, more stressful than being a full-time employee in a lot of cases, probably not all. So those are legitimate things that you should definitely take action on.
Yeah, that's awesome, Travis. I mean, I would second that. Especially we go to the doctor when for checkups, for when we are sick, under various things. Like, the same should be for the mental state. We've come a long way, and there's absolutely no shame in any of that stuff. And it bugs me that some people still feel like that's not a good option for them. Like, you're just being stupid. Because everyone needs help sometimes, and this stuff, running a business, I don't care who you are, like, even if you're Richard Branson or Steve Jobs or whoever, like, running a business is hard. It's going to be stressful. If you're doing it right, it's going to be stressful. It's crazy. And for me, a big thing of how I deal with a lot of that stuff is what we talked about this a little bit earlier, of just taking a walk, getting out of, like, a lot of times you get overwhelmed and feel like, oh, the sky's falling, everything's going to shit. But even just taking a step away, kind of clearing your head, getting refocused, is such a huge thing that can help. Taking walks or showering. For some reason, taking a shower. For some reason,
it's like pushing the reset button on the day.
Yeah.
All the best ideas live in there.
Exactly. Yep. No, that's totally it. I do my best thinking there, whether it's ideas or just organizing things. It was actually funny. The other night, I was doing the dishes after dinner, and we had made a mess. Like, it was just tons of stuff all over the kitchen, in the sink, and I was like, how am I gonna tackle this? And then it was just like, oh, no, I know how to do, it's like one thing at a time. You start cleaning things out, like, okay, I need the sink to do the work, so I'm going to start with, the things that are in my way, and you start taking care of those, get them out of the way, and it's like, okay, now that I have a little bit of room to work, now what's the next immediate thing that needs my attention to, help clear things out? And I was doing the dishes, and I was like, oh, this is oddly familiar of just how I like to tackle stressful situations and workload in general. And yeah, I don't know.
Zach, I might have lost your audio there for a
me
second.
too.
Oh, nope. Can't hear you. There we go.
Is that better?
Yes.
There we go, yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Not a worry. But no, I completely agree with what you're saying. And to echo on Travis's point, I started seeing a therapist, I think, February of this year, after 3 years of saying, like, the single thing I could do that would be best for me is to see a therapist. And, oh, God, I'm not going to see a therapist because I didn't want to admit I needed the help. I was afraid of it. I didn't like have a clean entrance point to it. And it's been the most valuable decision I made in my business this year. Just having that person who's there, who's a trained professional. I mean, we're all trained professionals. People come to us for our advice. If I have a problem, stress, depression, anxiety, which are things that I suffer from, why wouldn't I trust a trained professional to help me with it? I always think of it as I go to the gym and have a physical trainer who is able to coach me and help me be better at lifting heavy things. Why don't I think of therapy in the same way? And likewise, a few months ago, I was put on a prescription for Valium to deal with anxiety, and that just was like a huge level up in terms of the quality of my life. I didn't realize that I was so tightly wound as like a type A personality until I actually was in a car accident. They prescribed me Valium as a muscle relaxer. I took it and I'm like, I feel amazing. I don't feel like high, like this isn't an opiate or a drug. I just feel calm for the first time. And I talked to my therapist and I talked to my doctor and they put me on Valium and I'm like, this is how people are supposed to feel. I went through 29 years of my life feeling like not panic attacks all the time, but just like on the edge of like, oh, this is a stressful situation. And through, modern pharmacology, I'm suddenly able to have a balance and have a quality of life that I didn't realize I was missing out on.
Yeah, and one more point on that, another analogy that I think works for some people is, if you have a nice car, you're going to take good care of it, right? So if it starts making a weird noise, you're going to take it to the mechanic. Yeah, you're going to be, hey, my car is making this noise. It's it doesn't feel quite right. So why would you take better care of your car than you would of your own body and mind? So I feel like that's something that could resonate with some people, right? If something doesn't feel quite right, get it looked at. So.
Yeah, it feels like there's an unfortunate stigma, and I'm not sure whether it's in consulting circles or business circles or just like general life overall of talking about oh, I see a therapist, oh, something must be wrong, you must be broken. Well, no, I'm seeing the therapist to improve the quality of my life, not because something's broken there. Yeah. Anything else we want to add on that point?
I would say one more thing. We've touched on this a little bit, but to make sure you have not just that you separate on a daily basis from your work, and go have non-work life outside of that, but also to be careful. Be careful about if you're if you work through the weekend or stuff like that. That can be a really easy trap to fall into. I touched on this a little bit in my chapter in the book about travel, of where I've had that experience of I would try to work a little less each day when we were traveling, but work every day of the week. And then I never got this extended period of mental detachment from work, and that that built up and it was not good. So I would just caution people to be careful about that, to make sure you get some extended time away, even if maybe that's once every 2 weeks you take a few days off, whatever the case may be. Just give yourself a break. Yeah.
Yeah.
And extended vacations. I mean, a week off or 2 weeks off, being able to just go do things and play, that's pretty recharging.
Yep, totally. To me, that's the whole point of why we do this thing and not have a full-time job, is to give ourselves freedom to do things, do things like that and do things differently in general. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with that, I think for general employment, that system works for some people, but for some people it doesn't. And the freelance or consulting lifestyle, if you can call it that, that is more conducive for figuring out what works for you and building the life that you want. I mean, that alone is the reason why I have decided to go this path, because for me, there's no company in the world that has a liberal enough vacation policy for how I like to live my life. But the company that I've built, allows that. Yeah.
I like that. I like the way you said that, Zach, about figure out the way you want to live your life and do that. I think that's maybe the biggest takeaway. None of this should be seen as prescriptive,
right?
But our prescription is just figure out what works for you, actually examine that, and then work around that. Yeah, I like
It's
that a lot.
self-awareness, knowing, what charges you, what, drains you. I
Totally.
mean, for years, I was really hard on myself because I didn't really understand the difference between like extroversion and introversion. And so, I had a bunch of friends that, they were just go, go, go. They were always hanging out. They're always, doing all this crazy stuff. And I was just like, I have to sit home today. Like, I just can't do this all the time. And it took me a while, and I felt bad about it. And then, eventually I kind of, did more research or, learn more about it. There's a great book from Susan Cain called Quiet. That touches on like introversion and how it all works. But once I like figured all that out and like started to like really understand what worked for me, I was able to develop the lifestyle that worked for me, and it actually improved my work. Which was the big thing, because I wasn't like putting in crazy hours and just kind of like dragging through trying to, oh God, I got to put in another 60 hours this week. And when you're killing yourself that way, the productivity level drops. And so now, I mean, I probably do like a 30-hour work week, in, realistically, and the rest of it's all just stuff that, it's either pet projects or, stuff that just recharges me, so that when I do put in those 30 hours, it's like the best 30 hours that I can put in.
Yeah, one of my goals that I'm working on implementing right now and that I'm looking to achieve in 2016 is switching it down so my work schedule is just Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Like, those are the days I tackle client work and client projects. And Monday and Friday, like, yeah, sometimes there will be days where there's a push, there's a thing, I have to get stuff done, but really setting those aside to either be me time or personal project time. If I want to launch like a side project, if I want to do something, it's like, okay, cool, like I have full permission to build this or work on this Monday and Friday, like those are my days. Or if I just want to take a 4-day weekend, cool, like get on a plane, fly somewhere, fly back Monday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday do the client work, because that's the vision I have for how I want to build my business. And I'm really excited to experiment, and even if I only get 50% there, even if I only get to the point where I'm like, I don't have to work Fridays because I've built my business in such a way, that's still a win because it's the vision I want to achieve. Another question I have for the group is, so we touched a bit on stress here, and I think this is a really valuable discussion. On the flip side of it, as your business grows, how do you reward yourself? Or do you?
I reward myself every day. I think that's important. I mean, to varying scales, but I think like I mentioned earlier, like we live in this crazy, wonderful world, and at least my feeling on it is like I don't want to spend all of my life just behind a computer. Like, there's so much stuff to be experienced and enjoyed. And so as much as I love the work that I do, I also love all the crazy things that are out there in the world to do. And I love the people that I get to spend my time with. And so, reward for me, like a lot of times it'll either be, going on vacation, like taking a trip, which like last weekend, my girlfriend and I just decided on a whim to go up to Milwaukee. We'd never been. It's an hour-and-a-half train ride away from Chicago. And it was something like, hey, want to do this? Sure, let's do it. And it's just one of those things that we try to do on a regular basis of, little things to make it so that, both of us had crazy work schedules. We were feeling a little bit worn out. We just needed a break, needed time to get away, stuff like that. But then it's also as simple as like, I have cupcakes right now, like, one that's sitting next to me that I am like dying to, get into. But it's my reward for, putting in a good day's work, or, finishing this, roundtable, stuff like that. It's little things. There's pleasures in life that you can enjoy. It's all about finding what works for you.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I worked with a life coach for a short period of time, and one of the lessons I took away from my time with him was when I have a goal, associate something positive with the goal as a reward for myself. And it doesn't have to be like take a crazy trip or something monetary. Like I remember I had a goal of having a 30-day streak of writing 750 words a day, and he was like, what's a reward going to be? And I'm like, I'm going to get like the biggest mixing bowl I have in my kitchen. I'm going to fill it with fruit, and I'm just going to eat that fruit. And he's like, that sounds awesome. And I hit that goal, and I just ate like enough fruit to make me not want to eat fruit for a week, and I was happy. And like, it was a dumb little thing, but when I thought about like, well, what's the thing that would like make Kai the happiest? I was like, I just want to eat like a ton of fruit to celebrate hitting this goal. And like tiny things like that help, I think, combat stress and make things worth it. Since it might be like, somebody might be like, I'm going to ship this project and then I'm going to go out and buy a car or do this crazy thing. But it could also be like you pointed out, like you have that cupcake, and that cupcake represents, I'm excited about doing my things today. This is positive for me.
Yeah, I think assigning something concrete and tangible to that can also can be a big deal. Our brains to some extent, work that way. We're used to dealing with stuff in the physical world, and so I really like that idea of, even if it's something that seems small and insignificant or maybe even silly, like it's still a tangible thing, and then there's that association mentally, which can be really, really impactful. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anything else we want to add on that point?
For me, a kind of a reward type thing is a little different, not 100% like a reward, but as our business has grown, we've kind of gotten better at our processes and stuff. As myself and my family have started to travel more, because we're now more able to, because I can do this from anywhere, and now we kind of have that figured out how that works best, and kind of have started experimenting with that more and more, and so that's kind of a way, as like you said, as we've grown, we've been able to kind of make that more and more of a reality, where that's like Zach kind of alluded to, that's just something that we value, and so we're doing that.
That's perfect. That's wonderful. Let me see here. So what do you struggle, like looking at your business, 5,000-foot view, self-analysis, what are elements you still struggle with in terms of your work-life balance? I know for myself, like even though I talk about closing the doors on the office on the weekend, like it's very easy for a client project to creep into the weekend and feel like, it's only going to be like me putting in 2 or 3 hours, but I'm a big fan of David Allen's Getting Things Done and the whole idea of context and context shifts. Mm-hmm. And the context shift it requires for me to go from, it's the weekend and this is supposed to be me time, to working on a client project, to then shifting out into, this is Kai time again. There's a lead up into that and there's a lead out. So it's not just I'm gonna do client email for 30 minutes or I'm gonna work on this project for an hour and a half. It's like, it's gonna take me 30 minutes to get into it, then I'm gonna spend 2 hours on it, then it's gonna take me an hour or so to de-escalate from there. So that's something I still struggle with, and I'm working on putting systems in place and setting the right expectations both for myself and for my clients, where I don't fall into that trap, because it's way too easy to fall into that trap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, like the biggest thing I've been trying lately is like focus, of not getting distracted by either new clients that aren't a good fit, or new opportunities that just like they might be a great idea, but they just don't work for me right now, or I just shouldn't say yes to them. That's kind of what I'm focusing on now, of like I want to focus on what I'm working on and not get distracted. Otherwise, I just feel too worn thin. So that's what I've been trying to get better at.
That's wonderful.
For me, it's definitely that letting myself get mentally pulled back into work mode when I'm not in a place where I can actually act on that. So like Jeremy was talking about earlier, for me that's email on the phone. And yeah, this is good, because this is like, as we're having this discussion, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, I need to solve this problem, and have a compromise there where I'm able, where I'm able to to check email on my phone and that kind of stuff, but do that in a way, have a process and a a workflow in place that keeps me from letting it shift my mental focus, especially as I've dealt with this year, like with stress and anxiety stuff. That just pulls you right back into that and kind of resets your your stress or your anxiety level, and then it takes a long time for it to creep back down. So that's my biggest thing right now, for sure.
Yeah, I think for me it's probably the blurriness of the line between work and not work sometimes, especially when I have projects that start as a thing I'm playing with just for fun, and then eventually it turns into, oh, this could be a new line of business. I should develop out this service and try to sell it to customers. That it's a lot less clear of a line than, okay, I'm done working on client work for the day, because it's something I want to do and something that I feel like is an investment in future earnings and a future business. And it is definitely for working for myself instead of working for somebody else, but it's still working. And so yeah, the lack of clear distinction there, I think, can often lead me to spend a lot of time in an evening, and then all of a sudden I realize it's 2 a.m. and oh crap, I have a meeting with my client at 8 a.m. That means I need to go to bed right now.
Which I think is an interesting thing that you just brought up, sleep.
Yeah.
And having like good sleep patterns, I think, is a huge thing that, especially in our industry, I mean, more so startups and like the crazy world, but that's something that can make such a huge difference on how you feel and how stress levels and stuff like that. So I'm one of the it's weird. My dad can get like 4 hours of sleep a night and be good. Me, I'm like 9, like 8 during the week, and I'll be like, okay, but then on the weekend I got to catch up, and yeah, I don't know. Just for me.
Yeah, that's almost in some ways in kind of the tech scene, that's almost like a badge of pride sometimes, that people are, oh, I had pulled an all-nighter for this thing, and I'm like, are you crazy? Like that just, yeah, just get sleep. Like it'll catch up to you for sure. And a lot of people don't realize how much more effective they would be with healthy sleep patterns. Like that extra hour of work time is like at 50% productivity, and the one before that was at like 6. Just the point is, you're each hour, if you're well rested, each hour is going to be worth so much more. So yeah,
100%. I've struggled with sleep patterns at times, and I found like the best, most effective thing for me has been a combination of no devices in the bedroom. Like if my iPhone or my iPad or my laptop is in my bedroom, something is wrong, something is broken, and like either I have the flu and I'm watching Netflix because I'm sick, or something is broken and I need to fix it. And combining that with like, I'm terrible at this, but I keep trying to get better at no screen time after like 9 p.m. I try to go to sleep at 10 p.m. most nights, so 9 p.m. rolls around, I have a notification that goes off on my phone. It's like, turn off the computer, get away from a screen, go read a book, and go take your melatonin. So the third part is I take like 5 milligrams of melatonin a night along with 5-HTP and a green tea extract. And those three combined together really help me have a healthy, calm, dream-filled night of sleep. And it's been wonderful for me. Just since an hour after I take the melatonin, a natural herbal supplement, like I just start feeling tired and I really want to go to sleep, and boom, I'm asleep at 10. And if I don't do that, it's really easy to fall into, I mean, we could call it an anti-pattern of, oh, I'm just going to work like an extra hour. Like I'm working on my book right now, and last night it was 11 p.m. and I'm like, I have one chapter left to edit. I really want to edit the chapter. And I was like, no, let me think about this for a second. Like, if I have the choice between staying up an extra hour and editing that chapter, or waking up an hour early and editing that chapter, I'm going to be so much better if I just like sleep now and wake up an hour early. Like it's going to be the same amount of sleep. The efficiency, the productivity, the enjoyment, my clarity is just going to be so much more focused if I give myself that sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I echo that 100%, and melatonin too. Like, man, that stuff is awesome. Like, I hear that for some people, like it either it works or it doesn't.
You're telling your body that you're ready to go to sleep.
Yeah, I've had that same experience where you take it before you're ready to get in bed, and then like, man, you're just like, okay, I want to go. I don't want to watch Netflix. I don't want to read. Just want to go to sleep now, which is freaking awesome. Yeah.
It always reminds me of like how I feel after like a very physically exerting day. Like, oh, we hiked a mountain and then we ate a good meal and now I really, really, really want to go to sleep. That's what melatonin always makes me feel. It's just like I'm ready to go to bed because my body wants to go to bed. Mm-hmm. We're coming up on about 5 minutes left, and just to open the floor, I'm wondering what closing thoughts you have on work-life balance overall as an independent consultant.
I would say that this, to me, is a moving target. So it's not at least so far for me, right? It's a moving target, and I kind of have this picture of what I want things to be in this realm in terms of balance. I'm not 100% there yet right now. I'd like things to look a little different than they do, but I don't think I'm gonna like ever get to like that perfect point. I think it's a constant sort of change and tweak, do this and that. And so I would encourage people to look at it that way of, especially if your work-life balance right now, if it frankly sucks and you're screwing up on one thing or another, like to not get overwhelmed by that, but to look at it as, okay, what step can I take to move in that direction? Like, what does it look like for me to do one thing that changes that for the better and puts me closer to my ideal? And then, once you do that, you'll probably have a clearer picture of what that ideal looks like and what the next step might look like. So it's not this overnight thing at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that was exactly going to be my recommendation of like start small. This is something that you're going to slowly figure out, like Travis said, like figure out what works for you and figure out where you want to go. It is a moving target, and you're never going to have it perfect, or very rarely will you ever have it perfect. And even if it does get perfect, it'll be fleeting. Life happens, and so things always change, and that's okay. That no matter what, you can always get there by just making little changes. There's so many things that you can do that can improve your life. We have that luxury as consultants, Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And kind of something that now that I'm thinking about, we probably should have brought up a little earlier, is you can kind of use the impulse to work and kind of use it as a hack to do other things, like volunteering with different organizations and finding other things that help bring in other aspects of life and kind of are fulfilling but still allow you to be quote unquote working on them. I do some work with like some of the user group programming groups here in Oklahoma. And that helps a lot, just with giving me something to work on and helping me build connections in the community and having friends and peers and colleagues. All of that is great. And in addition to time with my wife and our dogs and our families, but just all those kind of things that build relationships outside of clients, I guess. Those are important.
And for you, Jeremy, doing stuff like that, volunteering or working with some of those kinds of organizations and groups like that, it probably works. It kind of functions as a like you said, you're working on something that's fulfilling, but it gets you away from the mental space of work, right? Is that kind of one of the benefits you're talking about there? Yeah, I like that.
And it's just a context switch, so that you get away from that one mental space into a different one, so that then when you come back, you can look at the first one from a little bit fresher place than if you're just mired in it all the time.
There's a book I read recently, How to Be Idle, a Loafer's Manifesto, And it's on Amazon. It's really, really good. I recommend it to anybody who watches this. I think I picked up a used copy for like $8, and it's on Kindle for $10. It just talks about how the common, I'm going to use the phrase work ethic here, even though it's not like a complete fake. The common work ethic you see in startup culture, in freelancing culture, or in the standard day job culture is built really to profit the person above you. Like, why should you go into work even though you feel sick today? Well, because your boss wants you to be more productive. And that's not a healthy way to approach life. So it was a really, really eye-opening book for me, because I always struggle with like how to be idle. How do I let the demon dogs of my mind go and not feel like, it's 4 p.m. I should be doing something? Like, even as an independent guy who's like my own boss, 4 p.m. rolls around and I feel like I need to be in my chair until 5 p.m. So this book, How to Be Idle, A Loafer's Manifesto, was very, very valuable at just opening my eyes to, well, it doesn't have to be this way. I've just subscribed to an invisible script that tells me it does, but I could consent to something completely different. So I highly, highly recommend it for people who are looking for further reading on the topic of work-life balance. I think it's an entertaining and a valuable read.
I wish we had a lot more time. I could go on a big rant about the social and cultural kind of programming behind all that kind of stuff, but maybe another day.
Next episode.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to thank the three of you for coming together and joining me to chat about this. Thank you all for your insights on work-life balance. I know I learned a lot. I hope the viewers learned a lot. And to our listeners, however you came across this video, however it made it into your hands, you could find out more about what we talked about here and how to be a better independent consultant at independentconsultingmanual.com. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kai. This is great.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.